No Labels Necessary just dropped a new video called New Music Release Strategy for 2025. I'm going to look at this and see if I agree with it. I'm Sean, Lonegevity, with Bringing Down the Band and the New Old Heads podcast, and this is my Unpacked series where I typically go deeper on New Old Head segments, but today I'm going to talk about this video from No Labels Necessary, the BrandMan.
If you want to take full advantage of the direct-to-fan era and have a real fan base, then you got to fall out of love with singles. Stop dropping singles, start dropping albums at some point in time, and I'm going to break down why. What's up? I go by the name of BrandMan Sean, and my music marketing agency is responsible for literally billions of streams, platinum records, and we've successfully helped independent artists sell over $2 million direct-to-fan. I make these videos to share what we learn and do.
It's interesting that his approach here, just off the bat, is like, stop dropping singles, do albums. I don't necessarily disagree with that take. I think it's realistically in the marketing approach.
For free. All right, first and foremost, why is the album so much more important in the direct-to-fan era than it was in the streaming era? Well, the album is better for actually...
So he's under the premise here that we've left the streaming era and we're now in a new era called the direct-to-fan era. Okay.
Creating fans and nurturing fans in a true sense. Singles are great for getting attention, bringing people into your funnel. I'm not saying never drop singles at all. Yes, keep dropping singles. But if you're wondering, hey, how come I don't have people with deep relationships with me? Probably because you don't drop legitimate bodies of work that they can cling on to and have a strong memory and association with.
I think generally speaking, I agree, but I would take it a step further that that relationship can be somewhat created through relationships, depending on, through albums, depending on what your music is like. But I think it is also depending on how you are building your direct-to-fan consumer community. I think how you interact with the people and how much they are allowed to understand who you are, which could be through an album, depending on, again, how you create it, is a way. I'm a big proponent of making albums and then treating the songs on your albums as if they are singles.
There's a ton of artists that have a lot of followers, a lot of people showing up to shows because they know their names, but they're on those shows with other artists. They're not able to really pull out their own base of people. They can't sell significantly in a direct-to-fan basis because they don't have bodies of work. They don't have anything encapsulating a period of time for them, which would allow the fans to dig a lot deeper.
I would say even further, having a back catalog.
So once you understand, you have to have singles.
Because even if you have a bunch of singles and you have a back catalog, that kind of works kind of the same way, potentially.
At the top of the funnel, maybe to bring new people in, and you need to have an album or albums to help people go deeper. Then it becomes about understanding that albums are also better for sales, period. Now, I mean that in two different ways. Number one, people are actually more willing to spend money on an album or an EP, by the way. So any actual project.
If it's physical media, I would say yes.
Now, I want to make it clear when I say this. If I announce something for sale to my fans and I drop a single, you will be hard pressed finding a lot of fans spend money on a single. It's harder for them to wrap their heads around it. Don't worry about all the psychology. Just know the end result, you're going to get less money. Whether it's a pay what you want type campaign or whether it's a specific price you're charging, it seems like I'm not getting that much value, and singles don't have as much associated work with them. When you have a crafted body of work, it seems like you put more thought into it. Therefore, it is more valuable from you as an artist. So when we go beyond creating,
it's about establishing a back catalog. I think that's a very important piece here. So I agree with that.
Fans, and also just thinking about selling something to fans. If we're talking about selling your music directly, specifically, you also want to make sure that you're dropping an album. And then also it's better for selling from the standpoint of creating an experience. Because when you drop a project, if you do it right, and it's a true body of work, then there's also going to be a full brand that comes along with it. And this is what you have to make sure you get right. So let's talk about the key facets of an album when you...
Not every album is necessarily a full brand, but I see what he means. I guess it depends on the artist.
Do it to help you strengthen your relationship with your fans and also make sales if you're trying to sell the music directly. Number one is, of course, the music. You want to have 4+ songs. 4 songs has been the minimum that we've seen.
4 is not an album though, so that's a project, but it's not an album. I mean, unless you have like 8 or 9 at least, it's not an album. So maybe when he's saying album, he's just referencing like bodies of work.
Really work well. You can do 3 and you can get away with 3 if you really brand it well, but 4+ is what you really want to start with. And 10 is the max that you want to go to in most cases as well. And
I would say 12 is the max. 10 is a sweet spot. 9 to 10 is probably a sweet spot. Even from creating a standpoint, because you need to have enough music to build a narrative within the thing that you're doing. And if it's too short, it's hard to build that narrative to get people to latch onto. If it's too long, people get bored. So I say 12 is probably the length that I would go, the longest probably, depending on the album that you're creating. But if it's just a quick EP, 3 or 4 records that you're just going to promote kind of essentially as singles, it doesn't really matter as much as because it's just back catalog. But if you're going to create a narrative within it, you need enough records to actually create that narrative.
To prevent disappointment, you actually want to be transparent about how many songs are on the project in most cases. Because when people are supporting you from a proud to pay standpoint, if I buy thinking it's a project and I think I'm going to get like 10 songs, 8 songs, and I only get 3, you don't want somebody who's willing to spend money on you to feel disappointed. So you want to put that up front, or at the very least, be careful and not oversell it. But once you get past the music, this is where we really start seeing the value. What is your theme or aesthetic that you're building around the project?
The narrative.
What meaning are you assigning to it? So are there a unique set of visuals? Like, what is the look that you have at that period of time? Tyler, the Creator, is somebody who reinvents himself project to project to project to project, and he's this new character. So it represents.
Yeah, he's got a new character. He's got a new aesthetic every single time, different color palette even,
A specific period of time of his career. And this does a lot of things to help sell, because everything that you're doing around this project is encapsulating a period of time. It's a time capsule.
Because remember, music marks time. We can all think back to music pieces that happened. It's like creating something that's going to stop time for these people in the future. It's like create something that's going to mark where they are in time so they'll always remember it.
So your merch, a show, anything that you're doing around this look and feel, the fans know that there's a scarcity to it naturally because you didn't do anything like this before. Your look, your vibe, your aesthetic. And now I know when this period is over, I'm probably not going to be able to invest in it as well. So I want to go to this show because this is the feel of this show. I want to consume the content that's related to it. I want to buy the things that I can buy. You don't need to be as extreme as a Tyler, the Creator, or a Kanye in his early days. It's as simple as maybe a theme, the album title, the overall narrative vibe. Drake does this well, and almost every popular act does this pretty well. So find one that you actually like and just consider how every project stood alone as its own body of work, but also had its own world and associations and energy along with it. But beyond the visual side of it, it can go into the language as well. Think about Drake, Certified Lover Boy. If you're reading this, it's too late. Take care. He's very good at naming projects and creating a vibe there, but you can look also at Charli XCX when she had her Brat project. Literally the colors were strong, but also the term brat was everywhere and people were saying Brat Summer, similar to Meg Thee Stallion having the Hot Girl Summer, but that wasn't branded as much around a project that came from a different space and evolved. So if you reference the Brat project specifically, you will see that term really took hold in her fan base and gave them something to stand on. So anything with Brat, anything with that font has a world of associations with it. And if people can't essentially mimic your album in some form or fashion, you might have not done a great job at branding it. So let's step back and look at it this way. Many years ago, I did a video where I broke down a concept of how I viewed artists and branding. And it came down to this. If you can have a Halloween costume for an artist, that means you figured out your brand enough, right? Or you made enough of an impact, right? If I could go outside, wear a Halloween costume, and anybody else who knows you, of course, as an artist, could see that and associate that look with you. You can go to an obvious costume like Marshmello from the EDM world, or you can go to things more subtle like Jay-Z at one period of time, how he was with the New York hat and his glasses, or Chance the Rapper had his 3 hat. There's so many looks that you can cover with a lot of different artists. But again, you want to think about this, not just you as a whole as an artist, you want to think about this from a project basis too. Not necessarily that you have an outfit or a look associated with the project, although that tends to be natural, but think about your project that specifically when it comes to the fact that it needs to be branded enough in comparison to your other projects where people could do certain call outs and callbacks that it would be obvious that if other fans saw it, they would know that you were talking about album number 3, not album number 1.
Interesting. I feel like that is great advice for larger artists. Not to say that it excludes younger artists. The Halloween costume idea, I've never really thought about it that way. So I think it's an interesting approach to, it's like a threshold of sorts to be able to hit, so yeah, I see what he's doing there.
Do things on the day you drop it. The day itself, make sure that it's something that makes sense for you and not just a typical Friday because the industry thinks that. Don't make it a Tuesday because now it's cool to drop on Tuesdays and you see.
I think Yeah, I think make it special to you. But I would never drop on a Friday. I think dropping on a Friday is stupid unless you're a major artist, because you're going to be competing with everybody else that's dropping on that same day. I would say make the day that you drop kind of special.
The other artists and big artists doing that, none of that should be in your consideration. Be creative. You're not thinking about trying to convince the playlist to help you market. You should only be thinking about what is special for my fan base. How do I create a moment for my fan base and take over their attention? Who cares what anybody is doing outside of that? You shouldn't. And then, of course, you want to make sure the pre-release and post-release is strong.
Depends on the size. Depends on your size and depends on what type of artist you are. But in general, don't try to compete where you're not going to win. And, you know, you can say don't compete, you know, like it doesn't matter if you compete with a Beyonce or Jay-Z, but at the end of the day, you're competing for time. And if 5 other albums drop on the same day and of the same people that make the same similar style of music that you make, you're up against those same people. So to his original point, I do agree that it's important to make your release day special, but I would say that it is not smart to not consider the fact or to not consider people's attention span around releasing and music, because people aren't consuming music in the same type of way that they used to.
Do a whole separate video on a release plan. Ultimately, it's still custom to you. So you always want to use online blueprints that aren't specific to you as more of a framework to learn from than necessarily copy verbatim. But at the end of the day, please make sure that you bring albums back into your vocabulary, projects, EPs, and don't just drop single after single after single because that was a cool thing to hear for a period of time. There was a real time where
there's just no depth to a consistent single schedule. It's like the TikTok versus the YouTube. It's like TikTok, you're just going to get a quick hit. YouTube is like where the depth, you know, it's where that depth lives. You know, like you can have a bunch of followers on TikTok, but next time you drop something, you know, nobody's going to see anything. More people are going to see your stuff on YouTube. Yeah, sometimes, but more so if you have a direct to fan connection there, but there's no depth. Depth is important.
Makes sense to focus more on singles based on the discovery of the algorithms, how social media is working and everything. But now that era is pretty much dead, been dead for a while now. If you have not caught up to the idea of dropping projects again, and if you plan to do direct to fan and you want to do it well and really make money and win, then you need to think about projects again, because people need a reason to choose and pay you instead of paying somebody else. Because the thing that people don't talk about enough when it comes to the direct to fan space, which I will say 1,000,000 times over, is now that people are spending money with the artist directly as much as they can, they only have a limited amount of money. The benefit of streaming was I could go discover as many people as possible without spending extra money. So I could stream you and I could stream you. I could stream you. I was limited by time. But when it comes to investing my hard-earned dollars, I'm not going to everybody's show because I don't make enough money to spend on everybody's show. I'm not buying everybody's merch.
The only other thing that I would say to this is that there is a major piece missing here, and it's getting people. This is under the assumption that the artist, whoever you may be, already has the fans, right? You can't just be direct to consumer without any fans. You know, like you kind of need a way to get people interested. And a lot of times that is what the singles, that's what he's kind of describing here. And you got to bring those people over to your direct to consumer platform. But if you don't have any people that's going to consume that, these are two different pyramids, you know, that he was explaining earlier. And so you kind of have to have both. But my suggestion is create the album like he is saying, but use those songs from that album as singles. Use that as promotional tools on these platforms that allow you to reach people and try to convert people from that over to your direct to consumer place. So you have the depth, which is AKA the album, but you're hitting them with short pieces, you know, because if they don't know you already, they're not going to be as invested. What he's describing is a fan base that is already invested in you. And if you don't have that already, you need to throw out those little pieces to be able to bring people in. I think it's harder to reel somebody in on an album. It's definitely easier nowadays because even though the streaming era is potentially coming to an end, if that's what it is, hey, I'm with it. I don't know if I 100% agree with it, but I'm with it if that's the case. I feel like it is kind of slowly starting to die. Don't get me wrong. I've been preaching direct to consumer for multiple years now, but there's still a place for, I'm not going to say social media. I'm going to say the For You algorithm, because that's the way it exists. And you can utilize the For You algorithm on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, even to target the things related to your song. So if you make a song that's kind of about rainy weather and it's a little depressing, you can target that in the algorithm a very specific type of way to get those people to come check out more of your stuff. And then your place to latch onto them, or the place to grab them, to convert them, is the fact that you do have an album already, right? And so they check that out, they become a fan. That's the pipeline, right? That's the pipeline that you need to kind of follow. So I generally agree with what he's saying.
So what's going to make me choose this artist versus that artist is the connection that I have with them. However they fit within my identity, that makes me want to support them. And that's something you constantly have to be thinking about if you want to develop a strong fan base that's going to support your career in the direct-to-fan era. If you have any questions or thoughts, drop them in the comment section below. Like and share. Every single view helps this channel. So don't gatekeep the information. Share it. Get it out there so we can know that it's worth.
Good video. Shots to no labels necessary. Yeah. And again, to his defense, this video is called Use Albums to Grow Your Hardcore Fan Base. So this is kind of under the assumption that you already have some sort of fans to some degree. But I would express this. I mean, even if you're just a consumer, somebody out there that is not an artist and you just love music, you know, is that the case for you? Do you appreciate albums more than singles? I mean, to me, it just depends on the artist. Like, it depends on like how much I care about the artist. To me, the music videos or the singles that I hear, or whatever that, or who interviews or whatever, you know, like this short pieces of media, that gets me intrigued. And it takes a certain level of intrigue. It's like a meter. And once that intrigue level gets up to a certain point, then hopefully I see a video of music that converts me to be like, oh, okay, I want to check this out. Right. But for me specifically, it takes a very fat meter to make me want to go and check out an album. You got to have some really crazy good stuff. But if you already have a catalog, and I happen to have some free time someday, it's a lot more beneficial than for you to have a catalog or an album out for me to check than if you just have a bunch of singles. So keep that in mind. So yeah, this is Unpacked with Lonegevity. I am Lonegevity of the New Old Heads podcast. This was not a New Old Heads podcast segment, but if you want to support our show, go to patreon.com/newoldheads, become a $5 member. And until next time, peace.